So this is the Agapanthus Lake tutorial. And as you can see, this photograph, I took it in autumn in Cornwall. So the Agapanthus had actually died. So in my own painting, I resurrected them. And I've got the colours that I selected, but they are not always the colours I end up with, because it's quite difficult to know until you start painting what you're going to end up with. The way I work is to start with my darks, and I think we're often scared of going in really, really, really dark. If you don't go in dark enough, then your lights don't really stand up. So we're going to go in, we're going to start with these dark colours at the back, and then I will put my sky in. So I haven't drawn anything in, and I am literally just going to use, doesn't have to be a pastel pencil, it could just be a hard pastel. But I'm literally just going to put in the shapes. And I'm on 24 by 30 pastel mat, and that's all I'm going to do is get the general shapes of the landscape in and block in the values. Now I have a selection of darkest darks, and it doesn't really matter what they are because we are going to paint over them, but I've got a mix of warms and cools, so browns, mauves and blues and greens, the darkest ones that I can find, because this is, look how dark that is, it actually looks black. We don't want it to be black. And I would probably, if I were doing this myself on my own, I might quite likely use the wet technique, using water or spirit, but it can cause problems if it doesn't dry quickly enough. So I'm sticking with just doing dry blending today. That looks quite green on there. It looks very dark here, but when you actually pick it up and use it, it's lighter than it looks. My darkest mauve. And this is very much just my first layer. I'm not too fussed about these bits here because you can go in and put the sky holes in afterwards. And I can cut my sky into my greenery. I'm going to put a little bit of dark brown in here. It looks grey on there. Let's try this one. Just to give it a bit of texture. And you can either use your fingers, which is absolutely fine because we're not really going to put a lot of detail over this, but you do need quite a lot of pastel on the paper to be able to blend with your fingers. I often use these, that are the pan pastel blenders, but these eyeshadow applicators work really, really well. So I'm just going to blend in a little bit more with this. So I'm not too fussed if it goes into my sky. Comes out quite far there, and I'm going to gradually fade it into my water so it's not too distinct. There we are. So it looks like it's got a little bit of texture to it, but not too much. I'm then going to come in and do what we call sort of the underpainting down here. So it's really going to be the same as this, because if you look at how dark these bits are in between all the grasses and things, you really want some very, very dark patches in here. And I'm doing it exactly the same way. I'm not really thinking about it too much. Get those dark undercolours in first. Make it all mucky, to the ugly stage. And then we can put the nice, exciting light colours on top. I'm going to use one of these. Oh, these are very good, but you've got to be careful to be very light-handed with them because it's quite easy to take off all the colour you've just put on with these. You can see it dropping off. And that's another reason I always try and work upright, because if you work flat, the pastel dust drops onto your paintings, and particularly if you're using light colours and you've got dark colours on top, they'll often drop, and then it's a nightmare trying to get them off. Right, so there we go. That's my mucky underpainting. I've got some warmer blues and some cooler blues, and I want my sky and my water to be slightly different colours. They will reflect a bit, but I don't want them to look identical. And this actually has some really nice bright blues in, almost electric blue. So, you know, some of this sort of colour and this sort of colour. So we'll sort of, as we come to it, we'll play a bit. So this is quite a bright mid blue. And skies are great places to blend your colours, because that just looks so vivid, doesn't it, and garish. But I'm coming down to, this is slightly lighter and a bit more muted. And I don't want stripes, so I'm just going to go in a little bit all over. And then I'm going to come down with this very pale, right to the horizon. In fact, that should be a bit higher there, that horizon. Up to the horizon at the back. I'm going to give that a blend and see what I think. And I don't have any particular feelings on paper colour. If you use a dark, you can at least see where it's all covered. But then if I'd used a light grey or something, I wouldn't have needed to put as much colour on the sky. So you can see we've got some colour on, but nowhere near enough. So I'm going to go in and do a bit more. And what you will find is as your pastel builds up, it should begin to blend itself on the paper. More of this is the one I used at the top, which is darker. And again, this lighter one. Beginning to sink into the paper now. I'm going to use my fingers for this, make sure they're clean, which they're not, but they're not going to rub off. Still quite a lot more tooth with the paper. So you can see here how this is the darkest bits at the front, and it does actually get a little bit lighter as it goes back, and it should really get lighter and cooler as it goes into the distance. But we want to make this look more further forward than that, so that will be cooler and paler. First of all, I want to get this tree line in. And that to me is going to be, it's quite dark, but I want it to be blue. This might be too dark. I don't know, it might work, rather than green, because green will bring it too far forward. And I don't need it to look like anything at the moment in particular. See, I might have to grey that out. Just gone in with a little bit of this. There we are. So if you just merge that a little bit, fades it out, makes it not look quite so distant. That bluey green is actually a phthalo blue, and it's a really quite violent colour, and it's so strong. It can take over if you're not careful. So I'm actually going to look for something a bit more mauvey to go over that with. Trial and error. Back here. This is actually quite, it looks like it might be okay, but it might bring it, no, I need something greener. It might bring it too far forward. So this is a good colour for background fields and things, because it's quite cool. It's quite light. It's obviously not Unison. Can't actually remember what make it is, but don't forget, I'm going to come down with my sky afterwards. And I want some of that colour in here, but I want it to look a little bit further forward. So I'm going to brighten it up just a little bit with something a little bit warmer. Let's try this for the trees. That's a slightly better green. I will have to go over it. It disappears under this little cloud of dead bush. Okay. Right, we're just mapping in the value shapes at the moment. It doesn't have to look too accurate. You can really see. That makes it look like there's a bit of light on it, which is quite nice. It's a pale hay kind of colour. This is quite a muted green. Yeah, it just looks like there's a little bit of sun there. We'll come back to that, don't worry. But first of all, I just want to get a little bit of colour on everything. So I'm going to come down now and do some of my water. And my water, I want to start off with really quite dark. And I am actually going to try this fellow, because in here it really is quite green blue. It then goes into this some almost ultramarine in here. Don't forget, this is going to get painted over. I might look at it and go, ah! Yeah. Push that into the paper a bit. And I don't want to be the exact colour here. I want something a bit darker. And this is my sky colour. I'm just going to try it out and see what it looks like. Yeah, I'm going to put that on all over at the moment. Blend it. Which will grey it out anyway. And then we'll come back and look. Because it gets paler and a little bit more turquoisey as it comes forward. This dark comes out further. So I'm just going to bring this out a little bit here. This is blue I've got in my hand. Now, my very dark green, when I go back over these darker colours, it actually looks like there's a bit of light coming in, even though it's very dark. And this gets very, very dark at the front, and I think I still need to go a bit darker. And this blue is also a really good one. I can't remember exactly what colour it is, but again, it's going to give a little bit of shape at the back. So that just gives the impression of a little bit of light. Up here there was some poking through, and the rest of it really is in silhouette. But I'm going to leave that for the minute because my sky is going to come in further. And I think once I've got flowers in front, our eye's going to be drawn away from that. So I'm not going to do too much with that at this moment. Now I'm going to carry on with my background. And I'm going to go back into the sky a little bit, chopping a bit more around. The background scenery. It comes right down here. I'm going to use a very little one up here. Actually, no, I'm going to use my fingers because I still don't have enough pastel on the paper there. I'm going to take this sky over here. I'm going to begin to see if I can carve out some of this tree here. Put some sky holes in. I'm going to use this blue that I used here, kind of blend that in a little bit more. I can still see paper through that. A bit more of this colour. That's my middle blue. This sky holes. No idea if that's going to look any good or not, so we'll leave it for a minute. Just trying to feather that. Can you see how this is kind of feathered? The appearance, so I'm just gently tapping. And because I've got a fair bit of pastel on there, it should start to blend itself. Let me give it a little bit of a help there. The idea is not to get too fixated on any one area at a time because it's all out of context. When you're only looking at one area, you're not seeing the rest of it. I am going to start, I'm going to do more on my water. There's quite a lot of dark back here, isn't there? This is going to be more blended because it's in the distance. I kind of want something that's not too bright green. It's more of a grey green. Don't think it's not quite dark enough. So I'm going to go back to some of the colours I picked out. Yeah, this actually comes right the way across here. It's quite dark, isn't it? Joins up there. That is very dark, and that is like the shadow. Quite dark bits there. That's too much like my sky, but I want a cool blue. When I say cool, I mean it veers more towards the green, but I would like it to be a bit grey. Let's try this one. Can't remember what I was going to use it for now. Here, I think. Yeah, this is quite a good distance colour. There we are, just touching in some colour there. So that's a bit paler, as you can see. This is still a bit too green for me. So I want something similar to the one I've just used, but maybe a tad darker because it's a bit nearer. Right, so that's nice, that's darker. And that's not that far off the one I had earlier. But can you see, is that the one? Yeah. It's just a little bit, I'll show you on here. That's the one I used earlier. And that's the one I'm using now. It's actually darker. The other one was very garish. So it's quite pronounced, this line down here. And then it goes all the way across. Comes back. Some dark bushes here. I'm going to take those up because they actually go right up into that sky. That really stands out at the moment, which I don't really want, so we will be going back in and toning that down. This it's quite a dark green. Quite like that at the back, but I think that again needs to come across more. Now, we have some blue at the back here, don't we? I think would be quite light. So I'm just going to put in a little bit of, oh, not too much too bright. Well, I don't know, we'll see as we come forward. We've got this mid blue. I think that's quite a good one actually. That's quite a nice colour for this. So I'm going to go back in over this, and that kind of blends it with that very dark. It's quite nice with the really dark tallow that we used here. Well, I've put this, it's quite a, it is quite a turquoise. I'm going to try something different. I'm going to try this, which is a much more purpley blue. And I think that might be better as part of this. maybe, but I still want it. It's still going to be quite turquoisey as we come forward. I like these colours down here. This needs to blend more. Kind of my mid blue that I used in the sky, which is a little bit lighter than the first one I used, so I quite like that. See how they look. I'm going to use my trusty blender, making sure it's not filthy dirty. Don't forget, it's still the underpainting. Just want to get an idea of what colours I like. It's quite light, so what I'm looking for now, I want something a bit more mauve. This is quite nice, isn't it? This is still got its cover on, BV9. Yeah, that's a nice one. Because that really does look like there's a bit of light at the back. This is kind of where the sun is really catching it. And it comes down a bit there, that light, and then it begins to turn into something a bit more turquoisey. Start just bringing in a bit of this. I like the way the light looks. I've got to get my colours right here. So there's some of this very dark at the back. It comes down, but that's actually really dark blue coming down there up here. There is a bit of warmth, if you can see. It does look a little bit sort of browny. But I'm not going to blend all of that. I might blend some of it, but it looks, I quite like the way it looks like it's ripples. This one, this is my middle. You can see the ripples look like they're going in that direction, but if I paint it in that direction, it's going to look like it's going uphill, which we don't want. Now this colour, it's lighter than that. This one comes in here. This is quite a nice colour for the water. This may be something a little bit lighter as it comes down. It's a bit greener down here, so I'm going to try the one I tried earlier. Decided I didn't like. I'm going to go back in and try that again. Never fears. I might end up blending it all the way and come back in again. I'm using this mauvey blue just a little bit down here. So there's a bit of light on the water. And I was right the first time, it does actually come in across here that it looks a bit lighter. The sun's capturing it. All the way back there, I want it to look smooth. You wouldn't see the detail back there. Building up the colours gradually. I want something, I quite like this, but I think I want something a little bit darker. I'm not sure I want it to be as turquoise as green. I want it to be somewhere between the two. Was that one I've had earlier? No, it's a little bit lighter than this. Yeah, look, that's nice. Right, so I'm building up the layers here. Still haven't got much on the paper down there, but I'm quite liking the effect of the water. I need to do better with this. This is a bit of a mess. So this is quite dark still here. I don't want to take it all away. It's a darker one than this one. It comes across the patches. Look. Here it kind of blends into the shadow. I'm going to go over this again and bring it out further because I don't think it comes out far enough. I think it's beginning to take shape. I think that's too light. That's a, oh, I don't know, that's a dark green actually. Look, and that actually looks okay. It's really dark patch here. Comes across. It's not covering it all up. Okay, yep, that's fine. Looking a bit more like it. I'm going to use that dark green I've just used. Very dark. To sharpen this up because this bit of water just kind of disappears. Turquoisey ones. So I quite like these colours over here. I think what I'm going to do, I still need to get more colour on the paper over here. I am blending it. I always say I'm not going to blend it anymore, and then I always do. Still more needs to go on here, but I've got to leave enough to get my leaves and things in. So I'm going to bring this down a little bit, and it's still quite dark down here. It's this dark, very dark one. I'm going to blend down here because I want colour behind my flowers. But I still want some tooth left. It does get slightly lighter down here. And this one now. That cuts in a bit more here. Take that over, but you can't actually see, it's quite dark up there, look still. It kind of just disappears into the background. So I'm going to bring that out here. That in more. Got a bit of this sort of colour up here. Just a bit of grassy knoll. That is actually quite warm there. except it's a September photograph and I'm trying to make it look like mid-July when the Agapanthus are in flower, so we'll stick with greens. So what colour would this have been then? I think we're going to make it a nice soft corally colour, I think. But I don't want it too bright so that it takes our eyes off the page. I want this blue to come out a bit more. It's too bright. I'm not too fussed about exactly what colours, but I do want that look like water behind there. Now I'm going to start getting my foliage in at the front because I can always come back to that later. Now this down here looks quite dark green to me, this corner. Kind of comes in here. Get some green on this. Quite a bit underneath. And again, it's quite warm, so I want some of this really dark blue. There's actually a, not sure what it is, it's a bit of wood or something in here. Look, yeah, it's a bit of wood. It comes out quite a way. These grasses come quite high up here, so I think I've put enough in here. This might need to come back a little bit more still. Using this light one to blend it a bit. So I've got a bit of shadow. It's a bit darker up there. Back with this dark. It comes across down here. Here. Right the way across there. Now I've got this down here. I might put that in to start with. This is quite a nice colour for that. It's like a sandy. And it literally is just a standing rock here. Put those in at the wrong angle. Very dark. Marks down here. Just disappears to this wood. Dark in there. It's got some nice, lovely, bright blue. That's the shadow. Across there. Don't know why I wanted to do it. Just caught my eye. Now let's start with some of this. So there's I'm saying there's probably 3 or 4 greens in there. was quite a dark one. Yeah, that's quite a good one. And they are literally marks. I'm going to go in with lighter ones and darker ones. Build up gradually. So that was lighter. This is darker. So we've already put quite a bit of our light in. See what it looks like really. I think they're still darker. This is a very dark. No, this is good. This is a very, very dark blue. Just another shade in there. With these sticking out over the water, really dark. Patches up here. This is really quite dark. And all of this is dark. So got some dark patches. Again, this one. I want some more yellow, brighter. This was the one I used. This wasn't the one I used. This was, no, this wasn't. So just a few of these sticking out. Just where the sun's really caught. Try and vary the way you use the pastels so that you're not getting all one shape. They're not all going in one direction. And they're not all lit up like this one. There are actually some sort of more orangey colours in there. But I'm not going to do those at the moment. Some little bright yellow bits. Not too many. Sun's caught them. I'm not going to do my stems yet. I want to build this up. So up here, I'm going to try this one. Just sort of gently. So it looks like something frondy, but not too specific. That's all right. Sort of green here. I want it all to be one colour though. So I'm actually going to go in with something darker here. In fact, let's see. I want something that's going to stand out against those, but not too much. Right. This is quite a good one. I want something more green. A fair mix of colours. These here, quite yellow, aren't they, on the outside? And I think my water needs to come in a bit more still. So I'm going to go back. Cut that in more. That's why I like working actually with my photograph on an iPad, because you can zoom in and out. And these agapanthus are, they're like balls of leaves, aren't they? It's just colours up there. So, a bit softer as they go back. I'll put in that piece of wood. It just adds a little bit of colour. Some of that colour around here as well. The marks will get bigger as they get nearer. I won't be able to see so much detail further away. Vary your greens. Doesn't really matter which colours they are, you just want a variation. Bluey ones and more, and brighter ones, paler. Bits of that in there. What else do we want? Still some of this. Some of these very dark leaves over the top. Just some twigs and things, and use it very lightly. Be careful it doesn't fall off your table. One often does. Just to give a bit of differentiation. I'm okay, not too bad with this. I think it still needs some sort of another green in there. It needs some variation. I do. Dabbing, wiggling and dabbing. Try not to make all your movements the same size. I think this looks quite good actually, but it's got some brighter bits in where the sun's caught it. Just on one edge. Just on the top, it's got some, like the light's caught it. Quite like that. There's a few of these, not too many. Need to go back to my background over here. Quite like the distance. I'm okay with that, I think, now. This doesn't come up anywhere near high enough now, does it? If you look, these actually should be up here somewhere. I might put a bit more bush up here, actually. Let's try that. It's really dark. Water all disappears in here. Okay, and I want that to look more like a ball, so like that. That's a bit better. And that would be very dark in there. Oh, I know it's hard to follow. I'm sorry. I'm literally just trying to recreate the shapes that I can see in there. Now I've got to come back to this, to my sky and my tree. That looks a bit more tree-like, I think. Together all the time, we put stuff on and go, oh no, I made a mistake. I have to go back and correct it. Just keep going, really. Still doesn't look like a tree because it's still too it's not sharp enough. So what colour is this? Very, very dark green. This is tree-like. So you can see I'm sort of painting in one direction and going back and painting in another. But I think that looks a bit better. So that's a bit better. It's got a dark patch there. I don't want to make that a little bit darker. Tree here. It sort of stops after the top branches. I need to make it look a bit more tree-like, and then I want this to look different somehow. And the only thing I can really think of doing with that is actually going in with a black. And not all blacks are equal either. Because that gives it a bit of an illusion of some more bushes and trees. That's better. I'm just going to come down a bit because that's definitely a dark, very, very, very dark green that is. Right, that's better. We are nearly at our Agapanthus. Get more yellows here. It's better. I want to tighten up my sky. All around here is looking very messy. See what this colour does up here. I think that's actually quite a good colour. It looks like there's a bit of light coming in. will join up a bit better with this bit up here that I've messed up as well. See what happens here. Okay, I'm going to go over that. To blend it with. It's going to be my middle blue. It's really quite dark. This is the lighter one. And the lighter one again. I should begin to bring it all together, she says, optimistic. I'm not necessarily going to blend the whole thing because I quite like the cloud effect. Okay. I've got a bit of a line, as you can probably see. A bit of a line here. Fingers. I do like it. A lot of people don't blend at all. I think once I've got my flowers in, that's not going to notice. It's going to just sort of fade into the background, if that makes sense. Still a bit more of this really nice, bright, it's this, what do you call it? The one that I used to start with, I said, oh, it's too strong. Actually, now that I've got more colour on, it works pretty well. And a bit of that blue. Because it is cool. Right, I think we're ready for our flowers now. So I'm going to find myself some Agapanthus. Can't necessarily see. There we go. A few up here, aren't there? And they are just little balls of seed heads. So I need some different colours. I've got this very dark mauve, which would kind of be underneath. I'm not sure it's dark enough. It's better. Get some underneath. Tiny little marks. Because I don't want to make them too, what's the word? aggressive. Paler background. Oh, it's quite good. Now they all come out of a sort of a bowl at the bottom, so I'm going to just do more with these. So I've got these two here. It's a good colour. They are globy shaped. Lovely, aren't they? I'm going to put another one in. They are actually quite, what's the word? They stand quite straight. They do, they come out of these little mounds of leaves. Fill a lot of that in, I think. Okay, it's in there. Darks in there. I need a bit more substance. Now, some of my favourite flowers, Agapanthus. I found them really hard to grow. They take years to flower, but they are so impressive once they've grown. So, do I want to put another Agapanthus going in that way? I think I might, actually. He's got this really bright stalk. Ooh. terrible, I know, but bear with me. Let's see what we can do. They're more ashamed over here, see, aren't they? Okay. All right, I think we're nearly there with that, but you can see where the light's catching it. Just in a few places. Right, I'm going to step back. These look silly down here, so let's change a few lighter bits, but not sunlight caught them. Dark green that I used up in my tree to give it a bit. It's not all uniform. So thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing yours. Bye.